Wow, you guys are jumping on here in a hurry tonight. Now remember, those of you that are on here, if you want to comment, you have to subscribe to my channel. Don't worry, I'm not going to send you anything, or it's not going to. It's just going to allow you to comment. So make sure you go in and subscribe to the channel so that you can comment. Hey Jackie, hey Vincey Lou Who. Ooh. I'm freezing. I don't feel good, y'all. Come here, interesting. Ori! Ori's in the house. Instead of Jackie being in the house, which she is, Ori's in the house. Ooh. Jackie, is Sara going to be with us tonight? Yeah. Okay. Tell her to make sure she subscribes. I know. Everybody's going to have to get used to YouTube. But I can't trust Facebook to still can't comment. I don't get that. Hmm. Yeah, I have yet to figure out how some people are able to comment so much. So, how many of you have had the pleasure? Hear the sarcasm dripping off my face here. The pleasure of being COVID tested. Let's just say, if you don't have to be tested, don't. Because that is one of the worst tests I've ever had. Yeah, they have the super long Q-tip, and they cram that thing all the way up into here, and they just keep going round and round and round and round with it, both sides. Let's just say, because it's up in this area where your finger don't reach when you pick your nose, this area up in here is extremely tender, like the inside of your vag tender, only worse. I'd rather have pap smear every hour of every day than get that. That's how bad that was. It was horrible. I had tears. I mean, it wasn't that I was crying. It's that it made my eyes water. Like when you get hit in the nose or anything. But I had tears streaming down my face, and my jaw was clenched. I don't know, Ori. They should have. Oh, in case for Jackie, do you know who Ori is? That's Nina. I don't know if you know that or not. And I call her Ori when she's in this persona. She probably hates it. But yeah, it was awful. My jaw was clenched. Surprised I don't have a white jaw. And that was at 8:20 this morning, and my nose still hurts. They should have done more than buy me a drink for that one. That should have got me a steak dinner. The thing about it is, I don't even know who's paying for the shit. They didn't charge me. Is it free? I don't know. Went through my doctor's office, so I don't know. It may cost me an arm and a leg by the time that's over with. Who knows? Because it wasn't like one of these public sites that you go to, where I still had to pull up in my car, but it was through the doctor's office because they do all those run all those tests and stuff because it's a specialist, and so it was through there. Oh, I will not be surprised if I get a nosebleed. So it was bad. All right, we're ready to get started here. I shall be reading chapters 12 and 13. And if there's time, I'll read chapter 14. So, the testing's beyond horrible. I mean, it's just seriously bad. What the what? What is that? No, I don't want that. That's not the one I'm reading. That's the one I'm reading. Okay, back there, there, there. Okay. Now there's the cover. Oh, speaking of covers, I got a new phone case today because I broke mine. Isn't that pretty? I love it. Okay. It's not sparkly and blingy like my normal, but I just love it. Pink and blue together has always been one of my favorite colors. This was my wedding colors too. All right, so now then back to chapter 12. Natalia. Right? Natalia? I don't even know. She got her life figured out. Yeah. Well, it's bad. Alrighty, so I'm gonna try reading with my Kindle or my tablet this low. So if you guys, I still need glasses. I was trying to get away with not wearing glasses. All my half glasses are in yonder. Okay. I keep wearing my glasses off on the top of my head, and then I don't have glasses in here. So, the book is called Pulse by Sara Gonzales. Hey, Miss Lori, how are you, my darling? All righty. So, all right, Natalia. Somehow, Natalia was laying on a bed in the guest room of Camden's house, not the guest house. What was that? I guess it's my phone. After the long and exhausting chat, she, Cam, and Heath had they all agreed to just stay at Camden's. Especially after the attack, she was okay with it. What she felt more uncomfortable about were her hormones that were raging. Her ovaries were wreaking havoc. Her nether regions were tingling so bad she was pressing her thighs together and constantly adjusting how she laid in the strange bed. Heath. She would blame Heath for this separate room shit. Because of the kind of day Natalia and Cam had, adding the heavy conversation that night with the three of them, Heath had suggested sleep and nothing more, propped up against a beautifully designed headboard and some of the most comfortable pillows she had ever felt. Nat took the time to look around the room. The light was subtle, since it was the moonlight shining through the window across the room from where she lay. The bedding itself was in shades of gray, blue, and a soft tan in 3 large stripes. Pillow coverings and sheets all matching to an exact color. She liked the earthly tones, matching chested drawers in a deep wood she thought might be mahogany. It had all matching units to go with it. What she liked the most was as large as the home was, it was homey. It didn't have to the feel of some model home where you had to be careful how you sat as to not squash a pillow or a chair, or worry you might leave a smudge on some piece of furniture you might have brushed up against. The guest room bathroom was a little more subtle than the master suite bathroom, although the same elegant feel. Nat rolled to her side, staring out the window. From her side, she could only see the same sky with the moon working its beautiful way towards being full. It had always been a place of solace for her. Sitting out in the dark with only the moon to light the way, making her feel so strong and even more so drawn to it. Now, with her new knowledge and understanding, it made sense. Groaning, Nat kicked the sheet and blanket back and then off of her body. The cooler air a soothing balm to her overheated skin. Fuck this. She felt too anxious to lay in bed. She climbs off the bed to pace the room. After 3 full rotations of the room, she finds herself quietly moving toward Camden's bedroom door. She has no idea what her intentions were, except maybe to watch him sleep. Only as she approached the door, it was slightly open. With a careful touch of her fingers, Nat pushes the door softly to have it open fully. Light steps take her to the end of the bed where she watches Cam. A sheet, the only thing she could see, covering his body to barely above his cock. This same view allowing her to know he was wearing nothing under the sheets. Cam was almost hairless, a slight dusting of a line of hair that trails from just below his belly button to his groin, where there was an equally thin amount of very precisely trimmed pubes. As rugged of a man that Cam came across as, he took extremely good care of himself. Looking around his room, she notices something she hadn't before. He has a guitar. She wondered if it was for looks or to play. I know I probably say guitar in a very southern way, y'all, so deal with it because I don't know how to say it. Guitar? Is that how? Guitar? 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 I don't know. Moving to it after peeking back to assure she hasn't awoken Cam, Nat lowers herself in front of the guitar to take a closer look. The face of the guitar had been carved with the same pattern of many items in his house. Nat, thinking of the fronts of the furniture, wooden items throughout. Intricate vines, her hand went to her mouth to cover the gasp that left her lips that were smiling. Hey, Sara, you finally made it. Sorry for the trouble. Us triplets didn't have any problems getting into this life. I mean, I don't understand why it affects some people one way and others a different way. YouTube speaking. Okay. Zeus is all right. Her hand went to her mouth to cover the gasp that left her lips that were smiling. Zeus's crown in the books were that vine, those same leaves, she thought. Come here. She hears that deep baritone voice softly request. Vincey, come here. uh, as she stands and looks to Kim, he was holding the sheet that had been covering him back, inviting her to join him. With each step, she removes the shirt and shorts until she is at the bed. Climbing in seems so natural, as if they had been sharing the same bed for their entire lives. Her body gravitates directly into his arms as he covers them both with the sheet, stretching her own body to drape halfway over his, resting her head on his chest. I didn't mean to wake you, She feels his smile and could smell his minty breath as he responds, I've only been dozing in and out. Her fingers play over the slopes of muscles on his chest, sliding down to his nipple where she circled the flat disc, watching it pebble at her touch. Do you play? Mm-hmm. She felt the rumble. Oops, wait a minute. Do you play? Mm-hmm. She felt the rumble from his chest as he made the noise. The carving? Kissing the spot on his chest just below her lips as she as he made the noise, the carving, kissing the spot on his chest just below her lips as she feels the kiss to the top of her hair. Kim holds her close. It felt so good to be in his arms. She had thought it before, but now it somehow felt like it meant something. You noticed, did you? He chuckles. Yeah, most of the furniture in the rooms in your bar and the billiards room. That room had caught her attention. It was overly manly, all dark wood. An 8-foot pool table, the center of attention, with a light hanging just above it. That lights out that light's outer casing, all stained glass in dark green, blue, and cream. Oh shit, it had vines on it too, now that she thought about it. No, it was more than that. It had depictions of the Greek gods, lightning bolt, vines, Poseidon's trident, a harp. It had it all. Are you placing all that you have seen together now? Cam inquires. Nat nods as she lifts her head to look in his cerulean blue eyes. I always have a hard time with that word because I never pronounce it right. For those that don't know, they weren't here for the conversation earlier. Ori is Nina. She's just playing disguise. Smiling, her hand leans in, her lips barely a brush, until the deep male groan vibrates in his chest. Natalia found herself with her knees on either side of her man's hips. Her man? Well, fuck. She was already thinking in those terms. Terms she was not dealing with when she was sitting with her bare flesh over his. He had moved her as the kiss started, such a sneaky move. She hadn't noticed until she felt his hard and oh so silky smooth shaft sliding between her already heated and wet folds. Sarah, Jackie, now I know why you guys want me to read this chapter. Mm-hmm. Bet you're horny old women. Uh, she moans, he gasps, both groan when both of their bodies move as if they were one. Foreplay later, her lips trailing kisses, teeth slightly grazing down the cord of his neck. Yes, she hisses with the movement both their bodies make. Hers was rising and lowering at the same time his hips lifted, the tip of his cock meeting her needy center. The stretch was so perfect, his shaft thick, long, and made to fill her with nothing but bliss. Cam's large hands heating more every moment they moved from her hips up her rib cage and over to her breast. Cam cupped both breasts with a firm grip, his body never losing its rhythm, lifting his upper body so his lips surround her nipple and teeth grip it enough to pinch. The slight pain making her gasp out a moan. Camden's eyes watching her, following her cries of pleasured sounds. If she moaned, he worked it more. If she flinched, he eased. He paid extra attention to those special spots, like the G spot he was currently tapping at with the head of his cock. They were so in sync, it was as if he had known her body forever, which sounded so cliche, playing it like it was his precious, beautifully carved guitar. His mouth moved between both breasts, paying extra special attention to the twist and pull that was making her inner walls clench down on his shaft. Fuck, you're so sensitive, his voice breathy and deep. The sound alone could make her come. One hand of Cam's moves between them, his thumb going directly to her throbbing clip that was rubbing perfectly against the tightly trimmed hair at the base of Cam's cock. His thumb pressing in, and with such an excruciatingly precise amount of pressure, she saw stars. Her head fell back on her shoulders, her rolling eyes rolling back in her head as a long moan draws out by the intense orgasm that was slamming through her. Before she could remotely come down, Cam had her flipped onto her hands and knees. They moved so she was facing the foot of the bed and re entered her from behind. The harsh slam had her cries of pleasure rising. Cam's left hand cupped her throat as his right hand balanced at her right hip. He was almost brutal in how hard he pulled, almost all the way out and pummels back into her inside of her. Her Greek demigod was grazing her G spot with each roll of his hips. He was the god of her pleasure. She tosses her head back on another shout. Fuck! Her body was on fire, shaking from the top of her head to her toes. He felt so amazing she could barely speak her pleasure. Fuck yeah, goddess, you were meant for me. Cam's words were grunted through his thrust. Nat's eyes had barely been open when she saw the open door. She had forgotten to close it. What took her by surprise was the very naked Heath, who leaned casually in the doorway. Oh my gosh, I just come all over again. His hand on his own cock, stroking himself. He leaned, he smirked, his eyes looking like a dark storm, the same storm she felt brewing within herself. She knew by where his eyes kept dropping to, he was enjoying the view of her breast bouncing and swinging like a pendulum. If you want him to go, he will. Cam whispers the words in her ear as she felt the length of his body and weight press against her back. He was like a blanket she never wanted to come out from under. No, she groans. He pushes off the wall, his hand never moving from his shaft. Nat could see the bead of pre-cum sliding from the slit, glistening like a beacon. Her tongue licked over her lips as she watched him moving forward. Cam's hands moving to her breast, both grasped and squeezed in a tight vice-like feel, making her mouth open and a guttural moan draw from her chest. Heath's knees were on the bed suddenly. She was so in the feel of what Cam was doing to her body, she had noticed how close Heath had come. His cock, equally as impressive as Cam's, was now in direct line with her face. Only if you want, beautiful, Cam says. Say no, and I go. Nat. Oh, let's see. Only if you want, beautiful, Cam says. Say no, and I go, Nat. He adds. Nat answers by leaning forward, her tongue peeking out to lick the drop, calling to her. He tastes so good it draws another moan from deep within her. She was on sensory overload with the thick shaft stretching her inner walls, the hands and friction on her body, and now the cock that she was wrapping her lips around, stretching them to their limits. Her tongue tested, teased, and swirled as she sucked Heath into her mouth. With Cam picking up the speed from behind her, it was driving her mouth at the same pace as she sucked Heath's cock. Nat felt the head of his cock tapping the back of her throat. These men should be thanking Corey for teaching her to relax her gag reflex. Nat had the fleeting thought. For every thrust forward, Heath's cock hit the back of her throat and she swallowed. His groans and heavy breathing joined Cam's. She was going to come again and knew Cam could feel it building inside of her. His voice stronger in the sounds he was making, the feel of his shaft swelling, her lips stretching more to accommodate what was to fill her. These men, her gods, right at that very moment, made her feel as if nothing in the world mattered more than her pleasure. Now, Nat. She felt a slap come between her legs. Cam's hand Cam's hand landing precisely over her swollen clit so perfectly she flew. Lights flashed behind her eyes as if the 4th of July shows were happening in the bedroom. She heard Heath and Cam as well as felt the heated jets filling her pussy as she swallowed over and over in every drop that splashed the back of her throat. When all of them had come through on the other side, the room was lit in a soft glow. Heath carefully pulled himself from her mouth. At the same time, Cam pulled out from within her, her own inner walls gripping as if they didn't want him to leave. She heard his chuckle as she groaned from the loss. Nat dropped her head to the mattress to catch her breath. Her ass was dripping pussy still, her ass and dripping pussy still in the air until she almost screeched from the damp towel she suddenly felt cleaning her. Shh, just cleaning you up while you're so you will be more comfortable, Heath says, as she turns her head to see him toss the towel into to a clothes hamper. Cam's arms wrap around her, pulling her up and over him from the end of the bed. Wrapping her in his arms, she cuddled into his body. She was exhausted in the absolute best of ways. The bed dipped on her other side as Heath joined them. Reaching behind her with her hand, she found Heath's hand and pulled him into until he cuddled into her backside. Is this okay? Heath asked Cam. Yeah, man, she needs us both right now. Nat did. She needed them right then. Somehow Cam knew she didn't have it in her to question that the whys and hows. Nat only knew what she felt, and at that moment she needed to be wrapped in the safety of both of their arms. Chapter 13. All right, let me see what everybody's saying here. I need to catch up. Or he's mysterious. Holy hotness, this is great. Fuck. uh, I didn't know. I didn't know you was gonna need your hot flash kit because I was just reading what they told me. I hadn't read it yet. I'm learning this the same as you are, Vincy. I haven't read this yet. I'd rather be licking ass than kicking ass. Chapter 13. Natalia. Waking in the arms of Cam made Nat need to pinch herself. She stretches and yawns in his arms, which only loosened enough to allow her movement. He was awake and smiling, she saw, as her head lifted and she was greeted with a gentle kiss. Good morning, my goddess. A chuckle bubbles out as she kisses his lips again and murmurs, Good morning, my amazing Greek god. Cam scrunches his face, laughing. Did you sleep well? Camden asked, his fingers combing the knots out of her hair that had occurred between the night's activities and her sleep. I think I slept better than I have ever slept before. Good. That makes me happier than you can imagine. He kisses her forehead as she kisses the dip of his collarbone. Heath had a couple of calls to make, and then he was going to make us breakfast. Nat leans up on an elbow, looking into his eyes. Last night felt so right to her. She knew Cam was the one for her, just as she was starting to think of the night before. Cam says, Baby, last night was for you. You needed it, and we felt that. We can talk about it more at breakfast, but just so you know, you are mine. She gasped, hearing his claim, which made him smile. Yeah, Nat, you know it as well as I do. All she could do was nod her head because he was right. Heath felt your need, our need. It is a part of what makes us who we all are. It doesn't mean it will always happen, but he turns on his side, propping his head on his hand. She was facing him with her own head propped in the same manner. If you or I need it, Heath will feel it. He taps the spot over her heart. An hour later, Nat and Kim had showered, dressed, and made their way to join Heath at the dining table. It was already set up with plates filled with a mixture of fresh fruit and egg omelets filled with green peppers, onions, tomatoes, ham, and topped with cheese. Wow, this all looks amazing, Nat says as she leans over Heath, where he was already sitting looking at something on the tablet. She kisses the corner of his mouth and he kisses back to her lips, making them both smile. Kim gave a good pat to Heath's shoulder, then they took their own seats. Each of them picked up their forks and began to eat. They were halfway through before Heath spoke. Do you regret last night? That was not what she saw coming. What? No, oh my God. Did I give you that impression? She felt panicked when both Kim and Heath each reached out to touch her hands. She dropped her fork so she could take and link her fingers with Kim's as her other hand links with Heath's. It was just a question. I didn't think you had, but I needed to ask. What you have with Kim is special already. I can see it, and I know you both feel it. When you were still sleeping in this morning, Cam and I discussed last night. He said he would explain to you. Did he? Heath asked. Looking into those blue eyes of Heath, she saw his compassion, but also his passion. Yeah, good. The one thing I've learned about myself is as a descendant of Zeus, I have a connection to all of the other descendants, just as Zeus had a connection to all of the gods, titans, and goddesses. Do you feel the others? She had to ask. She hadn't met any others. It didn't mean they weren't around or close. He nods as his hand went to his chest. I feel them. Some are far, some are closer. I can't explain how I know. I just feel it inside of me. Heath and Kim both released her hands. They all grabbed their forks back up and continued eating their meal. Nat, what I do know, he says between bites, is that when you or Cam or any other descendants need me, I will be there. Cam stands and moves around the table. He grabs the pitcher of orange juice from the counter and fills their glasses that have been set out. Before returning, he leans down and kisses the top of Heath's head. Love you, brother. Heath smiles through a mouthful, and after swallowing his food, he said, Love you too, and you as well, Nat. Although we just met, I do. Knowing her eyes feel faster than she could stop, she didn't try to hide the tears. Baby? Kim was worried. She understood. Shaking her head, she wipes them away. It didn't help as more fell slowly. I'm good. These are happy tears. She uses her napkin to wipe the rest away. John and Corey love me, probably the first people to really show me what being cared for and loved was like. When you said it, I felt it so deeply. She looks to Kim. Their eyes held each other's. I feel the same though. I love you. It has only been days, and I love you so deeply. Her head turned to Heath. I love you too. Her head turns back to Kim. He had the biggest, cheesiest smile. She stands, dropping her napkin on the table, moving to Kim, leaning down and wrapping her arms around his shoulders. For the record, you are mine too. His head turns, his lips slamming against hers as their tongues slip in to dance together. He tastes of the sweet fruit he had just eaten and so delicious. His hand had cupped the back of her head during the kiss. When she pulled back, she knew he was reluctant to let go. She gave him a wink before retaking her seat. For the record, I feel like I won the lottery. Heath laughed, standing. Oh, for the record, I feel like I won the lottery. Heath laughed, standing enough to lean over, reaching Nat. His hand gentle when he cups and holds her chin. I do too. Kissing her on the lips, the pressure was strong and sure but caring. She licks her lips, then turns to see Kim's smile. Sitting at a table with what she now could be the first time ever say was her boyfriend and and best friend. After breakfast, they all washed and cleaned up while discussing the day. Kim and Nat and Natalia would be heading into Pulse for a full shift. Kim had paperwork, and Nat would start her first real shift. Heath had business he needed to attend to, and they all agreed to get to what they would call getting back to normal. Cam's phone rang, and it was a tone she knew, a song she loved. She hummed the tune and watched Cam make a face she chuckled at as he answered. Hey, Ben, what's up? He points toward the back of the house as he walks away out of her sight. She looks at Heath with a raised brow and question. He shrugs his broad shoulders, but says, someone he works with in his other business. Which is what? He walks by her, kissing her temple as he did. He will explain, don't worry. Slipping his shoes on as he turns to her, seeing the look on her face, he sighs, walking back to her, taking her face in his hands. Don't worry. He smooths fingertips next to her eyes. I saw that frown. Don't do that, okay? He will explain, I promise. He kisses the corner of her mouth, then slips out the door with a wave. Nat closed the door, locking it behind Heath, then went to look for Cam. She hears his voice behind the door. Fuck you, Ben. This is not the contract, and that asshole can't make us do it. Nat stood there for a few minutes, worried at his words. She would ask him as soon as he was done. Dude, I'm telling you. No. This is. Oh, for fuck's sake. Would you shut the fuck up, dude? This is my gig, man. I set it up. He will rock this shit. We will rock this shit, and that suck up can eat a bag of fucking dicks if he doesn't like it. The door suddenly opens, making Nat jump back, hitting the wall. I'm sorry. She was so afraid he would be mad. Her past bursting through her mind. She just knew he would beat her for eavesdropping, so she ran. She made it to the front door, struggling to unlock it when she was slammed by Kim's full body against the door. Her body shook in fear as her arms wrapped around her, turning her so her face was buried into his chest. His hand palmed the back of her head. Baby, stop. Shh, I'm not mad. She felt his kiss as the tears fell down her cheeks for the second time that day. I wasn't hiding anything from you, and won't, I promise. Another kissed her hand, then she felt his hold ease, to have him lift her chin with one finger. That person I was speaking to is Ben. He is my guitarist. It took a minute for his words to register. The guitar? She asked. He nods. Yep, mine. You know of the Dane Hunt Band? She thought of the song she was singing in his truck. He saw when she knew, laughing softly. Yeah, that was my song, Nat. I am the Dane part of the band, and Ben is Ben Hunt. With one of her hands on his incredible chest, the other flew to her mouth. Oh my God, she laughs. He wipes the tears from her cheeks. I swear I was going to tell you. We just needed one thing at a time. I'm sorry. The way I reacted was his finger went over her lips. Don't, okay? Don't do that. Your past does not define your future. One day we will get you past those triggers of yours. For now, we take them as they come. You will learn I will never hurt you like that. He moves his fingers, replacing it with his lips. The kiss didn't last long, but it was what she needed to make the last of her fear drop away in the moment. Why my tongue keeps getting tongue tied? Why? Oh my God. You like the Heath voice? I just kind of made it up on the spot tonight. Oh my God. Well, actually, Sarah, that's one of my things I had to get over reading this stuff. I will say fuck, shit, pussy, whatever, cock, I don't care. But I've never, ever been one to take, because I'm Christian, I've never been one to take the Lord's name in vain. So usually when I do OMG, it's oh my gosh and stuff like that. And that's something I had to work with when I was reading this stuff. So a lot of times you'll hear me rush over that because I'm not comfortable saying it. Okay, it's getting dark enough. I can turn this. Oh, it don't get lighter. It gets darker. Throw my arm back up there because then it shows all my. There we go. It's not in my eyes as much. Okay, so now then. Pulse was packed almost to capacity. She was shocked given Pulse sat in the middle of a small mountain town in the middle of nowhere. This is normal, Nat. People come from all the surrounding mountain communities since theirs don't have a gym. Oh, now that makes sense. She smiles as a young 20-something man walks up. Hey, boss, this is the new girl. The guy turns, putting his hand out before Cam could introduce them. I'm Lad. Nat shakes his hand. He had dressed in one of the shirts that had Pulse over her chest. The black yoga pants were better than any she had ever worn. Matching everyone in the gym that was employed was another new for her. Corey didn't have uniforms like Pulse. Lad had a slight Irish. Oh, I'm sorry. I might be Irish by blood, but this is all Southern talk. I haven't learned to do the Irish lilt yet. Not unless I can read it. If I can read it, I'm not too bad, but Lad had a slight Irish lilt to his tone, jet black hair. He wasn't very tall, well built, and a chiseled jaw. I bet he had blue eyes too, because he's black Irish. Natalia, this guy that doesn't let the boss, Cam emphasized boss. Natalia, this guy that doesn't let the boss, Cam emphasized boss, raising an irritated brow. Lad, speak first, is who will be training you today. He is new as well, but he knows the ropes. He glared at Lad. Nat knows the business, Lad. She just needs to know the way we do things. Got it? Yep, got it. Lad responds, nonplussed by Cam's tone. Turning to Nat, Cam smiles. I will be in the office and then up on the track for the first half of the day. I have some of the high school students coming in for extra training before their meet coming up. If you need me. She smiles. I got this, boss. She winks. Kim turns, shaking his head as he walked away. The day was flying by. Lad, she already knew, was a complete douchebag. The man was so handsy. She had told him on more than one occasion he didn't need to touch to show her the ropes. She managed to get rid of him after lunch, sneaking a few minutes in with Cam for some stolen kisses in his office and a fast sandwich and fruit they had both brought with them from Cam's kitchen. She liked Lydia, who had come to work late. She was more helpful than Lad. The front desk was almost exactly like what she knew from her time with Corey's, so it was easy for her to grasp the training that was thrown at her by whoever was at the desk when she was. All day, with or without Lad by her side, was awkward. She could constantly feel his eyes on her. Lydia had even pointed it out, but Lydia thought Lad had a crush. On the way to the gym, Cam and Nat agreed to avoid anyone knowing they were together, at least for a while, and where the gym was concerned. Cam knew his employees and felt they would worry he was playing favorites. He didn't want Nat to start the position with that kind of thing coming between her and fellow employees. It made sense, and she agreed. She hadn't told Cam about what Lad was doing. It was her first day. She could handle him herself. Hey, Nat. She hears Cam's voice from above. Turning, she looks up and smiles. Can you do me a favor? Run over to the store and grab 2 cases of flavored electrolyte drinks, whatever they have, and a couple of cases of water. I forgot with the way the morning went. She blushed, remembering the shower scene before breakfast. He winks, seeing it on her face, and smiles. When she told him yes, he told her to grab petty cash and assured her the store would load his truck for her. She ran to his office for the keys, and as she came out, she was checking to make sure the door locked. Kim walked over from the track. I asked Lad to join you, she sighed. Cam, I can do it on my own. You know I'm strong enough, she says through clenched jaws, whispering so no one would hear. Let me reread that. Oh, great. Cam, I can do it on my own. You know I'm strong enough, she says through clenched jaws, whispering so no one would hear her. Baby, I know you are, but they don't know us. They would think it is odd I sent a woman for such a heavy load by herself. He was right. She knew it. Why do you need to be logical? He laughs with a tap to her nose. I love you, he whispers for her ears only. I love you too so much. Not being able to kiss him sucked. She knew he felt the same way when he caught himself leaning in for one. Hurry up. He chuckles as he turns back to the kids he was helping on the track. She heads down the stairs and out the door before grabbing the cash. Lad caught up with her too fast for her liking. Bossman said to come along to help you. Yep, so he told me. She had the truck unlocked and both herself and Lad inside and moving down the street within minutes. The store was easy to navigate, not being noticeably big, and the drink section in one aisle. She picked out 2 different cases of Powerade and he 2 cases of water. Paying and getting back to the truck and loaded up was again fast. Nat managed to avoid all conversation until they were pulling up to the street. Nat, since we did that so fast, would you mind stopping up ahead for just a minute at my house? She was shaking her head to say no when he added, It's on the way, on this street. Please, I forgot my lunch. I just want to grab a sandwich and some fruit. I have a long shift covering Robert today. Fine, is all she could muster. She saw no harm in the fast stop. He was right. The house was just up the street from Paul's and sat on the same road. He points to the driveway where they could pull the big truck into. Soon as she shut the engine off, she says, Hurry up. I don't want to abuse Cam's generosity in this job. Hoping the words would make him move along, he nods, climbing out of the truck and ran to the side door where he was unlocking, sleeping inside. Turning the radio on, her fingers tapped to the beat of music. She waited over 5 minutes and was feeling fidgety, so now rolled the window down. She turns volume up on the radio, then turns it down again for lack of things to do while waiting. Nat fiddled with knobs and buttons for a while too. She was not patient. Having had enough, she hops out of the truck, leaving the door open, intending to yell through the door when she scented the all too familiar coppery scent of blood. What she knew she should do was call Cam. The problem was if Lad was bleeding out, it could be a waste of precious time. The scene in the house was gruesome. Blood covered every wall as if someone has taken paint cans and just flung them open to have the contents splash over the walls. Her heart races. She steps careful to not touch any blood on the floor. She was reaching for her phone in her pocket of her yoga pants on her leg when a distorted voice from behind her says, Not today, young goddess. That voice had her stopping to turn towards it. Deep red eyes stare across the room at her. In the being's hand, hanging at his side, was the head of Lad. Fuck! She wanted to scream. He was once again covered in black from head to toe. Just like before, he rolls the head at her like he was bowling, making her jump up in the air to avoid it. No one touches what is his. That creepy, distorted voice spoke again. The slight bit of flesh she could see around his eyes looks melted, like a candle had spilled its wet wax. He took a step forward and she one back. There was an open door in the hall she was backing herself towards. If she could get a few more steps, she might have a chance. Again, he advances, stepping into the blood. Natalia was trained to pay attention to everything, not just what is before her. She was to know her surroundings, every detail. What she was seeing shouldn't be happening. When he steps, the blood smokes up around the boot and almost disappears. No, it wasn't disappearing. It was as if it was soaking into the male's clothing. Not like a rag wiping up a wet mess either. Her eyes were better than perfect. She was watching him soak the blood into him. Nat calculated every move she made. Each step was maneuvered around the blood, moving up the hallway. That door was one step, 1 foot only, and she could feel a breeze coming through the door. A window was her only chance. One more step he took, and Nat dove to her left. She saw the window the moment she was through the threshold of the room. The headless body slumped in front of a dresser with a sandwich in a baggie and an apple sitting on top, waiting to be taken for lunch. The window was only open but about 2 inches. Without any time, as the creep was coming at the slow pace he had been moving through the door, Nat leaped. 1 foot to the windowsill and her shoulder through the window, crashing through it to the ground below. A roar echoed in her ears as she hit the ground, glass coming down all over her. She scrambles to her feet and runs for the truck. The door she had left open, waiting for her. One more leap and a jump, and she was slamming the door shut just as the monster came after her. Reached the door. She locks it using her elbow while the other hand struggles to get the keys to turn in the ignition. The roar of the engine overpowered the sadistic growl that almost burned her eardrum from the being's mouth. With shaking hands, Nat finally got the truck to shift and reverse. At the same time, the driver's side window shatters in, raining glass over her. That was the second time in as many minutes she had glass raining down her. She was scared and pissed now, and as she slams her foot on the gas pedal and speeds out of the driveway backward. The man ran towards her, but as soon as she turns the truck out in the street, she was hearing brakes skidding, the horns honking due to her cutting off the oncoming vehicles on the main road. He stops and turns away as she put the truck in drive, but watched her rearview mirror until she couldn't see the black-clad figure anymore. Nat pulled back into Camden's parking spot behind the gym when the door burst open and out ran Kim. He saw the shattered window before he saw her. She knew she was bleeding, most of it from diving through the window. She could feel the wet stripes on her face. I felt something was wrong. What happened? Kim asks as the door opens and he steps on the door ledge to look over her. While he assures himself she is okay, she's going to be okay, she retold him every step of her trip and the events at Lad's house. Fuck. So this guy killed Lab? She nods, looking at him. He steps down from the truck and holds his arms out to her. She climbs down on shaky legs directly into his waiting arms. I'll call Heath to get that all taken care of. It was the same one I told you about. It was the same one I told you about. She didn't like Lad, but it didn't mean she wished him dead. She felt guilty. He was innocent. Let's get you home, okay? You can stay out here or come inside and wait for me to let them know I need to take off. I can use the window on the truck as an excuse for you leaving. He kisses her lips, wiping a smudge of blood from under her eye. She knew it was already healed by his touch, and by the smirk on his face, she knew he used his healing ways. All righty. What do you guys think? That was chapters 13 or 12 and 13. So if you want to read what led up to this, then you got to get the book. So, Miss Jackie, how much? Where at? All them good stuffs? Sarah, you're so silly. Oh my goodness. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're more than welcome. On Amazon, $3.99, or it's on KU. And paperback is coming soon. You're so welcome, Sarah. Anytime, anytime. Yes. Alrighty, so tomorrow night we got Serenity Reigns Attack Little Wolf. If I'm not mistaken, this is the last in the series. So, if you guys haven't read that series, you need to. Someone special that you know has a part in one of the books that I didn't read already. So, yeah, you guys might want to get the books and read it and find out where I'm at. Alrighty, and then Thursday night, used by Lynn Ryans. Not Rhymes, not the singer, but the author. So, all right, everybody, you're welcome. Have a good evening. Be safe out there and happy reading.